After the United States shocked the world by entering World War One, many Americans were suspicious of the European allies. As a result, the federal government faced much public criticism for the war efforts, and the Espionage and Sedition Acts were eventually passed under the Wilson administration, criminalizing any actions of releasing or keeping information that endangered the national security of the United States. Charles Schenck and Elizabeth Baer, members of the Socialist Party, were charged under this act for attempting to obstruct the military through their distribution of leaflets that criticized the draft. They urged people to disobey the draft due to what they believed was a violation of the 13th Amendment protection against involuntary servitude.
You are now convicted of violating the Espionage Act of 1917.
What? I'm simply exercising my First Amendment rights. This Espionage Act is infringing upon my freedom of speech.
To decide if free speech could be limited, the court had to consider the special wartime circumstances in which the country was in. If Schneck's conviction was to be upheld, the decision would be yet another monumental expansion to federal or congressional power, one day when it would cross the lines of personal liberties. Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. and his colleagues were tasked with balancing the preservation of an individual's freedom of speech and whether such speech amounts to a clear and present danger to national security. In the unanimous decision, Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. ruled to uphold Schneck's conviction, affirming that the Espionage Act did not violate the First Amendment.
The question in every case is whether the words used are used in such circumstances and are of such a nature as to create a clear and present danger that they will bring about the substantive evils that Congress has a right to prevent.
Schneck offended the Espionage Act by distributing pamphlets that discouraged the public from enlisting to the draft, impeding the war effort. In these wartime circumstances, freedoms like speech do not take precedence over national defense and security interests. Therefore, the Espionage Act of 1917 did not violate the First Amendment. The landmark decision established a clear and present danger test, affirming Congress's authority during wartime over the courts and the limiting of certain freedoms during special circumstances, in this case, the U.S.'s participation in the international war. Congress's power to maintain the military was recognized, so outlawing any actions that interfered with the war effort was now constitutional. As the great Chief Justice Holmes famously said,
The most stringent protection of free speech would not protect a man in falsely shouting fire in a theater and causing a panic.